Welcome to Search for Signs. My name is Gary Willing. If this information interests you, please press the like and subscribe button and press the bell for notifications.
Well, howdy. It is July the 10th, and I hope you are TCBing, taking care of business, getting things done. And while you're running around town, getting all your errands done, getting stuck in traffic, hopefully your heart is filled with so much joy and the love of all humanity as somebody's honking at you or cutting you off on the interstate or whatever. I'm kidding. No, I do have some questions to cover and some comments as well in this video, and you're always welcome to ask me a question about Maitreya, the Masters of Wisdom, by simply delicately posting that question as a comment or emailing me directly at searchforsigns@mail.com. And then, in the next video, I will try to answer what you're saying. And while I'm answering it, I'll be going, this is the greatest, finest, and most wonderful answer I've ever given. And then you will listen to it and go, it's not so great, not so fine, not so wonderful. It's aight, or not, I'm just kidding. I just do my best to answer it, and you can either believe it or not, think it's great or not, it's up to you. All right. Now, before I get into the question and answer portion of this video, I do want to point out who this woman is in the background photo of this video. This is Alice A. Bailey. Now, like Benjamin Creme and Helena Blavatsky, she had and still has her detractors. Now, I'm of the opinion that Alice Bailey, Helena Blavatsky, and Benjamin Creme were really the three top players in getting the information about the Masters of Wisdom to the public over the past 100 or so years. And she lived an ordinary life. Her background was interesting to say the least, but she was a housewife for a long time, but she eventually dedicated the latter part of her life to bringing forth to the public the idea and the truth of these masters and their priorities and what they, the ageless wisdom teachings and so forth, and kind of a preliminary set of teachings to humanity. She was approached by one of the masters, the master Djwhal Khul, who at the time that he wrote all of his information through her, from the master's point of view, he was a rookie. He had just become a master. She demanded proof, just like Benjamin Creme did, of the validity of this master and that it wasn't coming from her own subconscious, and he mailed her a photo of himself, just like Benjamin Creme's master mailed a photo of himself, and he received it in the mail, opened it up, and he said it was in his desk. He had a picture of his master. So same thing with her. Now, for years, during, World War I and World War II, she started writing a whole series of books that were coming from the master Djwhal Khul. If you're coming from, let's say, listening to people who so-called channel these masters, at first reading Alice Bailey, or Benjamin Creme for that matter, the information is going to seem very cold, very calculating, and maybe a little harsh in some ways, because you're used to something that's kind of fluffy and kind of sugar-coated. They don't really sugarcoat anything in this. In fact, when you read Djwhal Khul's information through Alice Bailey, it reads a lot like a college textbook would. Like if you were studying pre-med or something. It's just very scientific. Not a lot of humor to it. Not a lot of mystical aspects to it. Just very cut and dry, very scientific. But if you do take the time to listen or to read Alice Bailey's books, or the Master DK's information through Alice Bailey, I guess is a better way of saying it, and you're brave enough to really take it on, and then you take some time reading it and start to try to absorb it and apply it, for instance, and then you go back and you listen to people who so-called channel these masters, you'll see it very clearly, the difference in quality of information. And it's pretty easy, to see. It's pretty black and white. Now, the people who so-called channel these masters, or these ascended masters, as they like to call it, there's really three reasons, three ways that they're doing it. The first is just coming from nothing more than their subconscious. So if they desire communication with these masters, a lot of times it's just the information, like I said, it's just coming from their subconscious. If they kind of have a quality of fear about the future, of course that information will be colored with fear and destruction of the future. Even if they say it's coming from Maitreya himself, who Maitreya is very, very hopeful for the future, knows for a fact that we're going to turn the ship around and everything's going to be fine. As Maitreya says, all will be well. All manners of things will be well. But yet they say they're channeling Maitreya and it's, oh my gosh, the world's going to be destroyed and so forth like that. So it could be coming from their subconscious. The other option is option B. They are astral sensitive and they're picking up information coming from a disincarnated entity on the astral planes. And depending upon what level of the astral plane is how accurate that information would be, from either being total rubbish to nearly almost rubbish. But yet there might be some truths in some of the higher astral plane entities that are kind of giving this information. Might be some little bit of nuggets of truth, but for the most part it's riddled with distortion and illusion. And then the other option, which most people don't consider, is it's coming from a thought form of about one or other of these masters. So what happens is when the average person reads, let's say Alice Bailey or Benjamin Creme or even the Bible or whatever, or Helena Blavatsky, they create this thought form about what they're reading. And it's centered and created on the astral plane. If they're of an aspirational kind of quality, then that information, that thought form will kind of have that aspirational kind of effect to it. Or if it's one of fear, then it would be more of a fearful thing. And if they're astral sensitive, they can pick up on that thought form on the astral planes, which sometimes can kind of create a life of its own, really. And therefore they think it's coming from the Master Moria or the Master Kuthumi or the Master who was Saint Germain or so forth, the Master Akuzi or something. And they can get all sorts of wonderful teachings from nothing but a created thought form. The problem with it is it's just as distorted as information coming from any part of the astral planes, but there's just riddled with distortion. Now, Alice Bailey, like Benjamin Creme, it took them years to get that, to be able, they had to really work at it to get to the point where they could receive information from these masters in the way that they did. But like I said, if you take the time to read it, it might not be your cup of tea at first, right? But if you keep reading it, you'll see the difference in quality between information that's really coming from the masters through people like Alice Bailey or Benjamin Creme or Helena Blavatsky, and the information the so-called information coming from the masters that is coming from somebody's subconscious, a thought form, or a disincarnated entity on the astral plane. So you can see the difference. So hopefully that helps. All right. First questionish, commonish comes from Harry Smith. Benjamin Creme? Question mark. Masters of Wisdom? Question mark. What utter twaddle and nonsense. Fairy stories and ignorance. All right. Well, we can agree to disagree on that. I know I've had enough experiences with Maitreya either saving me from splitting my head wide open on the pavement of my driveway to a message on a payphone to lead me to believe that it's not just fairy stories. But you'll see, Harry. You'll see, I promise you. But it's up for all of us to kind of consider it for ourselves, that's for sure. I once visited this is also coming from Harry Smith. I once visited Benjamin Creme in the early 90s when he was speaking at a hall nearby Houston Station, London. I told him I was a Buddhist. Creme told me Buddhism was nonsense and only he, Benjamin Creme, had access to all cosmic truths via his teacher. Creme is clearly possessed by Mara evil and Maya illusion. Creme is a fool. All right. Well, thank you for your opinion and thank you for your comment, Harry. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know who told you that, but Benjamin Creme never told you that. Never once did. I knew Benjamin Creme for decades, and I know thousands of other people that knew him, and they can all attest to it too. He never once claimed ownership of this information, being the sole proprietor of truth or anything like that. He just presented this information out for anyone's consideration, and it was up for them to decide whether it was true for them or not. And he didn't care. So now also, Benjamin Creme has been known to go on record, because it's actually written in one of his books, because somebody asked him which of the major religions is the least distorted, and he said esoteric Buddhism was. So for him to say it was nonsense, I don't buy it for 1 second, Harry. But thank you so much for posting that question. All right. Next question comes from David O. Hi, Gary. Hey, David, how are you? What is Maitreya's occupation? Well, that's a very interesting question, David. Now, when Maitreya entered London in July 19th, 1977, and he went through customs, they asked him what his occupation was, and guess what he said? Teacher. Everyone's awaiting the Christ to come back as a religious leader. He's not. He's coming back as an educator in the broadest sense. Right now, because his major focus is on the economic arena and the political arena, he's really an economic and political teacher right now. Because those two crises and those are really going hand in hand. Because you know the political crisis is we don't have peace, right? It's very unstable. The economic crisis is the fact that we're living in a world where some people got it good, some people got it really, really good, and other people got it bad, and other people got it really, really bad. And we can't live in a world like that much longer. And so while that economic situation is going on, there will never be peace, there will never be justice, and so forth. So Maitreya is here now and is on TV now, teaching us and giving the preliminary part of his teaching, the fact that how to move forward as a people, really. Now, his when asked in the future, when somebody asks him, "Are you the Imam Mahdi, or you the Christ, or whatever?" he would say to you, "Well, if I'm the Christ for the Christians, what about the Imam Mahdi for the Muslims?" Or if he happens to be talking to somebody like Harry, who's a Buddhist, you know, "Are you the fifth Buddha?" If he says, "Well, if I'm the fifth Buddha for the Buddhists, what about the Messiah for the Jews?" He's going to tell us that those are all man-made terms. Now, people such as myself and Benjamin Creme and thousands of other people believe that he is the one awaited by all the world's religions, but he doesn't go around saying that. He really sees himself as a teacher for the world, really, as our elder brother, as the son of man, so to speak. But that's the way he sees it. He says those terms only create confusion in the mind of people. So why use it? Just refer to him as a teacher. Now, I go about saying that he's the Christ because I know people are waiting for the Christ to come back. But that's our hang-up, not his, so to speak. But anyway, now he embodies the Christ principle just as the Buddha embodies the Christ principle. So he is the Christ, but in terms of the idea that people have of the Christ coming back and so forth, or the idea that they have of the Christ, he would say those are just man-made terms. But, you know, these masters embody the soul energy or the love nature of God. Not embody, I'm sorry, they can manifest that. Excuse me, forgive me for misspeaking. Maitreya and the Buddha and people like, you know, masters like Sai Baba took it a step further, and they actually embodied that same energy, that love nature of God. So it's a higher quality. That's why in the last article that I read from Benjamin Creme's master, he said that Maitreya has no peer, and that his closest disciples, the masters of wisdom, know this to be true. So now when we see Maitreya out in public or on TV, you know, you'll just be looking at an ordinary person. But, you know, if you're, as it says in the Bible, if you have the eyes to see, you know, you will see that his wisdom and his love are unparalleled. But he's just wanting to be known as an ordinary person. That's why he's on TV not claiming to be anything. He's never claimed to be anything. Every time I've seen him, he's never once claimed to be the Christ. Never once claimed to be Maitreya or the Imam Mahdi or anything. He just came to help me in the time that I needed help, or came time to teach me something, or whatever it happened to be. So it's no different for any one of us, and it's, you know, that have had Maitreya experiences, and it's no different for the way he's going to approach the public. It's just, he's just one of us. He's just gone ahead of us in evolution. Like he says, he's among equal sons of God, you know, all endowed with full divine potential. It's just the level of that manifestation of that divinity is what creates the difference, if there is a difference. You know, he would say there probably isn't a difference. But anyway, hopefully that helps. All right. But David, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to ask that question. All right. Next question-ish, comment-ish, comes from Tao Zen-Chi, my brother of old. All right. Don't tell me they approved of tsunami of karmic justice. I think what he's talking about is in the previous videos here, I've spoken of the fact that I see the upcoming, the immediate time ahead as being like a tsunami, a wave of crises coming our way. Now, it's not going to lead to the eventual destruction of humanity. Let's get that right out the way. But I do think that we're going to have to go through it for a while to where we wake up to the fact that we can't be living the way that we're living. But these masters, I guess in a way are allowing some of this to happen because we need it to happen. But they're also allowing it to happen because it's our own karma based on our cause and effect, based on the fact that we're not living true to who we are as souls. So the farther we go toward, and the closer we go to the edge of destruction, the harder and harder it's going to be to us, on us, and so let's just get to the coronavirus, right? I mean, our political leaders, who shall remain nameless, and the so-called experts are saying that they were saying that the coronavirus was peaking back in April. And I remember even saying this on the show, I think, is that it's not going down. How can they say it's peaking if it's not going down? And then it might go down a little bit and then go right back up, but it was more like kind of a gentle increase, Now, I think, personally, that this wave, this virus is going to act very similar to the Spanish flu, with the same destructive results on humanity as the Spanish flu, or more, really. But it's going to shoot up. The second wave that's going to come toward the end of the summer and the fall and the winter. I hope I'm wrong by saying this, but it's going to be much larger than it was. And a lot more people are, unfortunately, I think, are going to pass away because of this, that wave. And then there'll be another wave, And then by that huge wave, of course, it's going to affect the economy in the way that it's been affecting the economy and so forth. And more people are going to get out of work. And this country, the political leaders in this country are going to have to wake up to the fact that they might actually have to take care of their own people. And then you have the protests going on in this country and around the world. It's going to be more and more of a wave of protest until they actually take the time to listen to the people and so forth. So really, and then who knows what's right around the bend again. There might be something else coming our way, until we realize that we can't live like this and change our ways. This wave, this tsunami of crises that is going to keep coming and hitting us until we wake up. But I think that, humanity in a way has to suffer, but also I think humanity has to be shocked into realizing the truth of things. And I know when the coronavirus first hit and people were in lockdown, it was like people out in public were a lot kinder. Now, it's kind of getting to the point now where I think people are kind of going back into the ways of the past, and whether the problems seem too immense and they just want to throw up their hands in denial, or more of a malaise because they don't really know what to believe, because we're getting just fed a bunch of crap, on all sides, about what, and so they just don't know what to do. And like, screw it. I mean, if 100,000, 130,000 people die, oh well. As long as it doesn't happen to me, I'm cool. I mean, if I'm the last one standing, I guess I'm the last one standing kind of deal. And they kind of take it like that. And so I've seen in public less and less people concerned about other people's safety, and they don't wear masks anymore. They're not trying to prevent anything. So I think naturally, it is going to go up. I think this is kind of where we're headed. Now, it's not the way it could, has to be, but I just see that humanity just kind of going right back to the way it was. So that whole hashtag coronavirus thing, I mean, that mothership's already left and we're back to the way it was, And then if you're going to multiply it into the stress and uncertainty of what's going on, it can't help but lead to more crises and, one after the other after the other. So, but I don't think, and I will never think, that it will lead to the ultimate destruction of this planet. As Maitreya says, all will be well. All manner of things will be well. So I choose hope over fear. I choose joy over fear, and so forth. So, I mean, the choice is yours. You can either, like I said, live your life in fear or live your life with joy. So in the face of all this, and it's easy to have joy in life when everything is going your way. It's a lot harder to manifest joy when there's a lot of uncertainty and fear, in and around you. So, but as Benjamin Creme's master said, fear and joy are equally infectious. So I choose not to infect other people with my fear. So hopefully that helps. All right. So thank you, Tao, for that. Alrighty. I am going to end this video by reading one of Benjamin Creme's master's articles, and this one's entitled Sharing, because so many people misunderstand the principle of sharing and what it really means for all of us. Now, it's not my idea. I didn't come up with this on my own. And actually, I don't even think Maitreya came up with the idea of sharing. He's just saying that this is the way we need to live. The truth of existence is really all in life shares. On the higher levels of spirituality in the cosmos is nothing but sharing. And there's a lot more to it than just the redistribution of goods, but it's going to start with this. And when I read this article, you'll see he actually lays it out in terms of how it's going to look as a general sense in the future. Now, again, if you're interested in this information and you like hearing Benjamin Creme's master's articles and you actually take the time to actually listen to these videos all the way through, I definitely recommend, and I'm not selling anybody on anything, it's up to you to do, but I don't know who's listening to this or whatever, so if it's the same person or different people listening to it, I definitely recommend checking, definitely recommend for you to seek out A Master Speaks Volume 1 or 2 on Amazon. And it's always better for you to read these words coming from the idea of and the mind of this master, and to see the words for yourself, to internalize it for yourself, than just to have somebody like me read it. So can't stress that enough. All right. This one was written a long time ago, but guess what? It still pertains to today. It was written in February of 1982. I was just 11 years old when this was written, and I'm nearly 50 now, so that's how long ago that was. In the coming age, mankind will evolve several methods of dealing with the problems involved in implementing the principle of sharing. Each stage in the unfoldment of this precious principle will bring man closer to his source. Gradually, a new humanity will be seen, manifesting more and more of its divine potential. In the first stage, redistribution will be the keynote, each nation making available to the common pool those resources which it has beyond its needs. Through a sophisticated form of barter, the world's goods will be shared until such time as man's inner divinity awakens in him a desire for a simpler method of structuring his economic life. Then will follow the stage of emancipation of humanity from the drudgery of needless work. Machines will gradually take over from man the tasks of manufacture. All the artifacts of our daily lives will one day be created in this way. This will lead to a self-sufficiency unthinkable today. So great are the differences in development and resources among the nations. These machines will liberate man for the exploration of his own inner nature and guarantee his progress towards divinity. In time, these machines will be created by an act of will. By the power of his illumined mind, man will bring together an aggregate of forces and call into being these instruments and devices through which all his needs will be met. Then that which is shared will be the resources and fruits of the Spirit. A creativity unlike aught seen before will transform men's lives, and in this new livingness and beauty all will share. Thus will man demonstrate themselves as gods. All of this is conditional on man's right choices now, his ability to make the necessary sacrifices for the good of all. This achieved, the way is opened for the deliverance of man from those self-imposed limitations now have him in thrall. From our viewpoint, these conditions are being met. Already the signs are becoming apparent that humanity is daily growing in awareness that the time available in which to make the needed changes is short indeed. Before long, there will emerge a new sense of oneness, of belonging to one family of brothers and sisters. A new and better direction will fashion men's lives, and together, in growing harmony, the steps will be taken which will ensure their progress. A growing realization of man's destiny and purpose will carry him forward and enlighten his path. Thus, the stages of sharing will be implemented, expressing at each stage some further aspect of man's divine nature, revealing in ever-growing radiance the glory of that nature. Much there is to do in this coming time to seize the opportunities now being presented to humanity, to evolve in an altogether heightened rhythm. Never before in such potency have the energies been available for this. The time is thus unique. Unique also is the presence in your midst of the Prince of Peace, the herald of the new dawn, and a growing number of his disciples. Under our wise guidance, man will come to realize his true stature and fulfill his destiny.
Remember to take action and help SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.